Hello, everyone. It's Mike, Alex, and Alina. We're back with I'm Glad You Asked. Another great show. Now it's been a little bit since we've been with you. But anyway, today we've got actually our first teen topic. Why is contraception bad? So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, I want to take some time here and have some Christmas fun with everyone. And we got some trivia questions for Alex and Alina. Who wants to go first? I didn't ask you that earlier.
Well, that's an easy question.
Okay, ladies first, right?
All righty then.
That's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
Just kidding.
All right. So, Alina, how many ghosts show up in A Christmas Carol?
3.
4.
Bob Marley. Yeah. Oh.
He's always the one forgotten. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, Alex.
As soon as
The movie Miracle on 34th Street.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Is based on a real life department store. What is it?
Oh, poo. You know what? I'm thinking of Christmas in Connecticut. No, I'm not.
What?
That's the one with the homeless guy who goes and lives in that rich guy's house while he's gone on vacation, right?
No. Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah,
isn't that the one?
Macy's, Bloomingdale's, like.
I was gonna say
Macy's. It's Macy's.
Yeah, like
but
he's
then I didn't think it was
he's
right.
a Macy's Santa, like a mall Santa, and like he inspires this little girl who's like going through a really bad divorce or something. Like, it's
that
awful.
one.
Yep. Okay, in Home Alone, where are the McAllisters going on vacation when they leave Kevin behind?
France.
Yes, Paris. Okay, very good. France, very good. Wow. Okay, Alex.
Wow.
In the classic How the Grinch Stole
Ask me
Christmas,
what her parents did.
the Grinch was described with 3 words. What were they? So the Grinch in the How the Grinch Stole Christmas is described with 3 words. What are they?
Was it stink, stank, stunk?
Very good. There you go. Look at that. Okay.
I was just the first thing
I
that
would
came
say
to my
that
mind.
song is like 3 minutes long.
I know, right? Okay, Alina, here's the next one.
All right.
And this will be your last one, Alex, and I got one more for you. In which country did eggnog originate or come from?
Oh.
It's alcoholic. So
No.
No,
right?
not
Is it not?
traditionally.
No, just
That's
not.
just
okay,
in
well, that changes
America.
everything. Okay.
It does.
I've never had it,
Just
so
in
I have no
Tennessee.
idea. Whiskey? Oh.
Really? You've never had eggnog?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay, well, I'm gonna buy some eggnog. So anyway.
Yeah.
So what country?
I don't know,
Say
some place that
Belgium.
likes like. Well, yeah, it's probably like Belgium or Sweden, or maybe even like Poland, somewhere, Russia,
England.
England.
Yeah, isn't
really?
that weird? Yeah.
Really?
I don't
No,
know.
I was expecting like somewhere like farther north.
That is interesting.
Like
England, huh?
All right.
Surprised. I didn't know they
Like
made anything but
eggs.
tea.
Oh, I think that's a little like.
I don't know. When you think England, you think tea. You don't think eggnog.
Yeah. Okay, Alex, here we go. Ready? How many gifts in total are given during the 12 Days of Christmas song?
Oh, you mean so that's like
On the first day of Christmas. Yeah.
yeah. So that's a what kind of math is that? I used to know what that was. You could use a formula and add those because it'd be 12 plus 11 plus 10 plus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just got to do some quick exponential, put the little exclamation point behind it, and then you do the thing. I'm going to go with 136, Bob.
All right. 364. So,
364?
Wow.
yeah.
Fun
Yeah.
fact.
'Cause
12?
on the 12th day, you
Oh.
get 12, 11, 10, 9,
Oh.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
And
3,
on the
2,
11th
and
day,
1.
you get 11,
11 and 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, my gosh. That's not even fair question. I need a different formula.
Do you know
there
what
you
the
go.
12 Days of Christmas is about, Alex? Like
What?
when does the 12 Days of Christmas start?
I don't know. 12 days
Christmas
before
Day.
Christmas.
It starts on Christmas Day, but
Oh, I didn't know
it
that.
was
So is it the liturgical season?
no, it goes the 12 days up into the Epiphany until the wise
Yeah.
men come.
Right.
But
really?
the 12 Days of Christmas song was wrote to explain to young Catholic kids the history of like Catholicism and their faith in a time when they were being persecuted in a way that was secret so they could practice their catechesis. So like a partridge in a pear tree is Jesus Christ, like 2 turtle doves is the Old and the New Testament.
What?
Yeah, each thing has a meaning. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Mind
Like the
blown, folks.
four-
That's
What about
Four or-
ladies milking? Wait.
What?
8 maids of milking?
Maids milking.
Okay,
Eight-
what's the
8 maids of
biblical
milking.
number
don't-
for
Yeah,
eight?
what are the maids?
I don't know.
Eight?
Think of 8 something.
I don't know.
8
We'll have to look at
on
that.
the 8th
3
day.
is the Trinity, like, and then you have
I don't know.
4
What's
Matthew,
what's
Mark,
with
Luke,
the
and
golden
John.
ring?
5
Matthew,
golden
the
ring.
Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
That's 4.
That's only
Oh, that's
Five.
four.
Five golden
Oh,
rings.
5 golden rings.
Five golden rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
jar.
I
What do those mean?
have to think
It's
about
the
it.
5 rings given to the elf lords.
No else.
Is it not? Is it not?
No, one of them is
7 rings to
It
men.
has nothing to do with rings.
3 to the dwarves.
It's just
I
5.
don't know.
No, it's
I'm
5.
sorry.
And 1
I'm sorry,
to rule them
Matt.
all.
You want to rule them all. That's right. I'm
It's
sorry.
Catholic.
Well, some
We-
things about the tribes of Israel. I think that's 12 or whatever.
Yeah, well,
however
that
many
makes
tribes of
sense.
Israel.
Oh, 12
like,
12. What is
Yeah.
12?
like the
The
tribes,
tribes
of
of
Israel.
Israel. I
Wait,
think.
no, what is in the song? 12.
12 lords of leaping? No.
No, it's
12.
12 ladies.
Drummers drumming. 12.
No, I think
Pipers
that's
piping.
nope.
No.
No, you're just going through
It's
them all.
we're just going through them all. Okay, folks.
No,
as
can I
we
tell you another
digress.
fun fact though?
Okay,
You can cut this
sure.
out later.
Okay.
Not
Not going to cut it out.
No, I love fun facts. Okay, so the McAllisters, do you know why they had so much money to go to France? Like, and what his parents did to afford that giant house and take everybody to France or Paris for Christmas?
They were lawyers.
No,
I don't know.
it's a terrible guess.
They were bootleggers.
That's a better guess. No, his mom was a really accomplished fashion designer, and his dad worked for like an accounting firm or something.
Huh.
But it was the mom; she had all the money,
Look at that.
and that's why they're going to France.
How are you supposed to know that?
I don't know.
I don't know
Like, what do you
either.
call that? Like fan fiction junk?
I don't know. You ever notice that? Never mind. I was gonna say pop-up video from VH1, but that's too old for this generation that I'm working with.
Now it's popping fun facts on Freeform.
Is that what it is? Okay. Pop-up video. They used to have like movies and like videos, music videos, even shown on VH1, and then they would like pop up little facts. Anyway.
Yeah, Freeform does that. Like for Hocus Pocus,
Oh.
they just did it for
Mhm.
Home Alone.
There you
Like
go.
Home
they'll do it for
Alone's
Christmas Vacation.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
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 So well,
Medically, the burglars in Home Alone would have never been able to survive.
yeah. After.
No, they seriously like would have been hospitalized after the first like icy fall down the steps.
First icy fall.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
broken back, broken like sternum, like it was all.
Oh, jeez.
Mhm.
Well, that's the
Anyway.
joys of movies, everyone. So anyway, well, hey, thanks for joining us again.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Jeez. Today's topic was
It's a great
actually
movie.
brought to us by a teen who had talked to the group and made a suggestion and asked for us to talk about contraception. You know, why is it so bad, and why is it something the Catholic Church doesn't support, doesn't believe in, and it goes against our faith. And that's what we're going to do today, hopefully with some fun and with some honesty and some clarity, because it's a deep topic and there's a lot to it. So with that, as we always do, I'm going to turn it over to Alex, our Director of Youth Ministry here at VMY SEMO, and get his initial thoughts on the topic. Alex?
Yeah, I think so. If we're going to talk about contraception, I think you got to begin with the positives that the church teaches, because when we talk about why not to do something, it can always seem so restrictive and like
Right.
That is
like-
Yes.
so true.
That's
like
so true.
like the church is against us or trying to make our lives tougher or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the church is all about no's, not about yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much good behind what the church teaches. It is incredibly good,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think we got to start there and start with why this is important to us as human beings. And so I think it comes back all the way to chastity. And so this chastity, maybe you've heard chastity explained, maybe not very well, because I think a lot of people haven't heard it explained super well. Maybe it's
I
like
think that's a fair point. I
makes
would
you
agree.
think of Mean Girls a little bit, you know.
Why?
You know, you ever seen Mean Girls?
Yes, I've seen Mean Girls.
Well, you know, they give that chastity talk in the gym.
That's not chastity talk. That's
Well,
just
that's the chastity talk a lot of people
that-
get.
That's
Oh, really?
That's just condoms on bananas. I mean, that's just the regular
No, you're
old
not thinking
like.
Mean Girls, right?
Yeah, Mean Girls.
Like-
Gretchen Wilson,
Yeah.
or not
Like
Gretchen
don't
Wilson. Oh my gosh. poor
don't have
Gretchen
sex
Wilson.
or you'll get pregnant and die.
Yeah, and he tosses around the box of condoms like, all right, everybody grabs them, and like then they.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Okay. But I mean, so people have a
Yeah, you will
don't
get
it really
chlamydia
have a,
and you will die.
yeah. So yeah, that's what a lot of people.
Gretchen Wieners is her
It's
name.
like a fear. It's like a fear tactic.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to scare people into avoiding something that is ultimately good if
Mhm.
you understand it.
Yes.
You know, I
Correct.
mean, sexuality is so good
Mhm.
if we can understand it.
Mhm.
So you back up here to chastity. And what does chastity mean? And I think a lot of people today think chastity means you don't have sex.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't you agree?
I think
Fine.
people think that.
People think that.
I think
People
people
think
think that. Yes.
People
I would
think
agree.
that.
Yeah.
And And in one aspect, it's true, but it misses the big picture by so far. In one aspect, it is true. If you're practicing chastity and you're not married, you're not having sex. That's one thing you're doing, but that's something that you're not doing. What you should be doing, and what chastity means is basically total respect for yourself and for other people,
yeah.
and and people of your same gender and people of the opposite gender. It's just total respect for your dignity as a child of God. And so,
right.
You're respecting the other person's wishes, their dreams, their emotions, their interests, their body, their soul. Ultimately, you're respecting them, and you're respecting yourselves. And so, it all comes back to that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's so, like, everybody wants to be respected, right? And
Absolutely.
so chastity is a way we respect one another, because we can harm one another, as people know.
I think Pope John Paul II said it the best when he had said that I'm assigning the dignity of every man to every woman and the dignity of every woman to every man,
Wow.
I mean, he tasked us with that, and that's something we should have been doing all along. Girls don't dress provocatively and test the men, and men don't do the same to girls, swim with a shirt on if you have to, or,
Well, and again, it's what's your intent, and it all goes back to.
I mean,
and first of all, it the wise words of Saint Pope John Paul II. I mean, you can see why the man was a saint. I mean, truly, and what he did with theology of the body and everything like that. That is so wonderful. And for those who haven't had a chance to read it, grab it. It's a great book. There are summaries of it. If you don't want to read the entire,
because it's a lot.
Oh,
it's
I
a
wouldn't.
lot.
I wouldn't start with the.
Yeah, don't start
unless
with the
you're a
actual
theologian already, or you're
you ascribe to be or something. That's your desire. But
I started with Intro to Theology of the Body
How
by
was it?
Christopher West, and it's supposed to be an intro, right? And it is still so mind-blowing and beautiful that you can only read a couple pages, and you just have to stop and be like, really? Wow. And it's very, it's easy to read, but just the concept of what JP2 discussed is so amazing that you just have to stop and be like, man, I got to think about that. That's life-changing.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's just
it
the
is.
intro
It's compact.
book.
Like it's all real good stuff, but it's one of those that you want to like read and then stop and think about, highlight. It would be a great. I think that's why so many people do it in a book study or a book, book club kind of setting, because there's so much in there, and that way you read the first chapter and then you come together and you talk about it. Even in the intros you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of building on that, back to the topic here. One of the things that when. I've had many family members who said, hey, well, why don't you believe in contraception? I disagree with the church. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there in the faith, whether it's an adult, a teen, whoever, who go kind of, decides to go against, what the church teaches. They don't think, the Pope can't tell me what to do in my bedroom. I've heard that line before.
Yes. Yeah.
And, one of the things that I've always said, and, what I see here and how I've always explained it is the following. God is about love, and when you look at the union in a marriage, being intimate, a husband and wife being intimate is, the closest form of intimacy they can have as a couple. But also it's meant for God's grace, and if God's will desires, for life to be brought forth. I mean, we were all brought forth out of love, out of ultimately God's love. He chose and designed us all from the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, when we provide a barrier, and contraception is a barrier to life, you prevent God's will from choosing whether he wants you to have a child or not in marriage. When you purposefully put a barrier there, you eliminate God. You eliminate love, and it's only about sex. And God is not about sex. God is about intimacy and love. And so that's how I've always explained it to family and friends, and who have said, well, I disagree with the Pope. Well, I disagree with the church's teaching on that. Well, your view is just about sex then. It's not about the intimacy that we're called to experience with God. And then if you experience that intimacy individually with God, you can certainly experience it in your marriage as well.
Right.
And I think that that's a thing that it wasn't talked about when I was in school. Even in a Catholic high school, they didn't talk about it that way. This is something I kind of developed on my own and thought and prayed about over the years. But it's a tough topic. I think that even teachers don't even want to get into.
No, it's a hard. Fulton Sheen had said that. I know he's so good. But he says that in regards to barrier methods to birth control in all of its forms, it says that the pleasure which is a means to the procreation of children is good, but the children themselves are no good. In other words, to be logical, the philosophy of birth control would commit us to a world in which trees were always blooming but never give fruit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. I mean, unpack that for a minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trees are always blooming but never give fruit. And I think like rolling on to this, you have to say like, oh, well, that's just because the Catholic Church wants you to have like a bajillion children, be one of those huge Catholic families with 9-7 kids. You want to do that? Great. Like, more will to you. No, I don't want that many kids. 3 is good. Yeah. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, are you done having kids? I'm like, well, we're practicing Catholics. And they're like, do what? Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, we're part of our marriage vows is an openness to children.
Correct.
Are we trying to have children? No. No. But it's an openness. I always say we have 3 so far. I don't know what God has in store for me. I don't know what God's will is at this time. No, he's not calling me to any more children. And therefore, we are using the Catholic means of not birth control, but NFP, natural family planning.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to the beauty right there of, again, it's God's will. It's part of that when you go through a marriage. And one of the things that, we often think we live in a culture today that is so sexualized.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's on the TV. It's on your app. It's in every song.
It's on billboards.
It's on billboards.
It's true.
It's
your little kids have to see it when you're driving down the interstate.
Planned Parenthood has a big sign up that says like last night's oops is our Tuesday morning.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Where is that sign?
I don't know.
Never mind. I don't even want to give that any glory on this show. That's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, but
last night's oops. It's such a sad thing to think that a child can be an oops or that sex is an oops.
That's what I mean. It's like
because like you're missing the point. You're missing the beauty of it.
Exactly. And
because it's so good. It's like what else is something that is a great good that we can compare it to?
Sugar. Carbs.
Sugar, yeah.
Sugar,
okay.
Carbs.
It's Christmas cookie time. I love Christmas cookies,
right.
but
to say
I
like
already had 6 Christmas cookies
you're
this
basically
morning.
saying like sugar is evil.
Eggnog. That's good. I mean,
yeah.
You haven't had eggnog. I just said that just to.
No, I haven't had it yet.
I'll get you some eggnog.
Bring some
but
eggnog.
when something is good, whenever something is good, we are upset when we misuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? I mean, like, I play sand volleyball, right?
Yeah.
And I love sand volleyball, and when I don't play well, it's frustrating because I can.
Yeah.
And so it's something I love, and if I'm not using it, if I'm not playing it properly, say I'm hitting the wrong way, then it's going to be frustrating because like it's not fun when you're not playing.
Yeah.
I mean, so when something is good, it hurts more when we misuse it because it's so good.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things too is, and again, what's your intent? I mean, and this is something that, again, I challenge, our teens, especially who are listening, that you've got to, when you're talking about this stuff, when you're thinking about this stuff, the choices you're making are dramatic and big choices. This is not something
Contraception encourages us to use and abuse people. There's no more, the idea is that there's no more consequences to your actions. You've taken away what is good and pure about, the married life or, now like not, but before marriage even, because you've taken away all the responsibility that comes with it. But there's so much more. I mean, there's more to it. There's a quote out there somewhere, I don't remember who by, but it says that the act of marriage, the consecration or act of intercourse between a husband and a wife is the closest we'll ever get to knowing God and being like God, because it's the only time like here on earth that we have the power to create life, to give life like God does, and to have a hand in that, is just like,
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Mind blowing. No, but it is. It's mind blowing. I mean,
and somebody could argue, well, we'll be open to it once a week or like when we're ready.
when we're ready,
Kind of thing, and
Yeah.
like
and that's selfish.
okay, you're right. Well,
mean,
I agree.
think,
I
when-
agree.
when
But then
we're
if
ready.
you
No.
well, no, like if say like yeah, I understand that giving completely is good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and not trying to frustrate sexuality and how we're created is good. But we will do that sometimes, but then most of the time we'll just go use most of sex. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see
Mhm.
what you're saying.
Like
just
you can say
kinda-
like I see what you're saying, Alina. It's really good, and it's a great thing, and we'll do that sometimes when we're wanting to have kids. And so why is
Right.
it bad to use contraception sometimes? I think
Yeah.
would be a big part of it.
after
Yeah.
I
Big
had
question.
Claire,
Yeah.
my middle one, the OB had told me, well, what forms of birth control are you going to be using? You know, and I'm like my 3-week checkup, like not even on my brain yet. And I was like, well, we're Catholic, so we'll be using NFP. And she's like, ha, that's a really good way to get pregnant. And I'm like, or not get pregnant?
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean-
Actually, it's very accurate.
it's
Yeah.
extremely accurate. It's 99% accurate with
Right.
no harmful side effects.
Right.
And, you know, that's an interesting thing that this is how
It's all natural.
pervasive, and I hate saying, I mean, it's become pervasive in that the doctors are sitting there going, so what are you going to use? Like, not even
Not any of your
taking it-
business.
like-
Like I'm giving you work here. The more I get pregnant, the more of a secure job you have. So why are you asking? Like
I mean,
Yeah,
but to
I'm
I'm
me,
securing your paycheck here.
I mean, but how sad is that? That here you are, you're a new mother, and they're promoting birth control.
oh yeah.
Like, this is amazing to me.
Yeah, they want to
Like,
like if you're gonna use like an IUD or anything like any kind of implant, they want to make sure that it is in
goodness gracious.
like
Yeah.
usually I think they say by like 6 weeks.
Hmm.
You know, and it's like, whoa, you're not even cleared to do anything after you deliver for like
wow.
you know 3 to 6 weeks. I mean, you shouldn't even, but that's why they want to get implanted, you know, and it's all about population control, but I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, so we won't get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
But they're not wrong. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what birth control was made for, was
Mhm.
population control.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
no.
Well, I think we were when we were talking kind of pre-show. What did you say? You found out like the earliest
Oh,
forms
yeah.
of contraception were like the 1900 BC.
1900 BC, the Egyptians were using wool as a form of like a barrier method, you know, because the sperm would
This
get
is
trapped in the
amazing.
wool.
I mean,
Well, it's
yeah.
it just shows you
It's
how
not
far
s-
back we want to prevent God from doing it.
Well, it's in the
getting-
Bible. I mean, like this is biblical. It's
Right,
in
right.
you know, Genesis where Orion,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
angered God, like, because he didn't want to have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's not surprising that every kind of sin
Sin
against
is
God
really
has been there since the beginning.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I
But
mean, I
guess-
think it's.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
No, but I guess contraception methods have changed. But I tell you, I
not
listen
really. I mean, like you're still using.
Well, yeah.
Barrier,
Well,
like not a whole lot
in-
has changed.
in
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose.
Barrier
Yeah.
method wise, like
Yeah.
not a whole lot has changed. You know, instead of using like pig skin or pig intestines as condoms, now they use rubber latex, which is everybody's allergic to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if anybody, I listened to this medical doctor talk about what the pill does to
oh
women,
geez,
and it is so scary.
It
and
is.
in other countries,
Yeah.
it's illegal because it's a carcinogen.
yeah.
But that's not the only thing it does. It's not
Really?
a cancer-causing thing,
Huh.
but it's also
There you go.
just has such effects on women
It
that
does.
it's scary. I was like,
One of the major side effects of the pill alone is anxiety and depression. Now let's look at our society as a whole here.
Wow.
Almost every adult woman, you know, suffers from some degree of anxiety and
And
depression.
depression.
Well, look at the statistics of the number of people that are
Well,
on the pill.
Mhm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like you can't say these two don't go hand in hand. I mean, you
Mhm.
can look at that from, you know, statistics of ovarian cancer or breast
Mhm.
cancer or anything, and then you're using these carcinogens, you know, and then
Mhm.
infertility. I mean, they say like on average it takes you were on the pill for 5 years, it's going to take your body 5 years to get back.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why you see this
Mhm.
massive drop in population. You have my mom's generation. You know, my mom was born in like 64. Okay. And she turns 13 or whatever. She gets her first period and everything, and she's cramping. And the doctors are like, oh, now there's a pill for that. Like, here, have some birth control. They don't tell you nothing about it. And my grandma, you know, who is like, oh, why would the doctor, you know, this sounds great, you know, like gets put on it. My mom is on birth control from the time like she's 13 until she gets married because she's
Wow.
using it, you know, and then has to deal with infertility,
Wow.
mm-hmm.
you know, versus somebody who has never been on the pill,
Mhm.
Yeah.
never has, you know, any of
Mhm.
those, in theory, has none of those negative side effects.
I think
Wow.
one quote that really spoke to me about chastity is that, yes, it's very challenging, no doubt, that it is a battle within ourselves to use our gifts properly, but that's life in general.
Hmm.
And the Catechism has this awesome quote. It says, it is a apprenticeship or training in self-mastery.
Mm-hmm.
So the alternative is clear. Either man governs his passions and finds peace, or he lets himself be dominated by them and becomes unhappy.
Mm.
So either we learn to use our gifts well and be at peace, or we let our passions control us and we become unhappy, and that's so true. So it's
Wow.
truly a key to happiness is chastity. I mean, we respect each other and we respect ourselves, and we'll be happy, and we use this gift properly, and we will be so at peace and so overjoyed by the goodness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the culture is just so far astray that young people and adults, whatever,
Uh-huh.
don't even
Yeah.
know where to begin, because it's just like, how do you
Yeah.
even use
I
this
mean-
properly? How
Yeah.
can we
Right.
understand
How do
ourselves
we?
properly?
I think
Right.
that's so true.
Speaking in married couple terms here,
Mm-hmm.
couples who practice NFP statistically have more sex. They have a better marriage, you know, from a degree, like if you can measure happiness. And the divorce rate is so much less, you know.
is.
So you can't say that the church is trying. That's one of the big myths about the
Yeah.
church and contraception. You know,
Well, and that's the
So
thing.
couples- yeah.
Their church. You know, if you really want to see it, there's a beautiful document out there, encyclical letter, Humana Vitae,
Yeah.
which is part of Vatican II. Pope Paul VI, you know, had promulgated a lot of the information on it along with the council. But it literally goes through God's loving design, married love, the responsibility of parenthood, observing the natural law, union and procreation, faithfulness to God's design, you know, unlawful birth control methods. It talks about everything. And
yeah.
yes, there's a little bit of unpacking because there's some deep words. But
Have you read it?
I actually have read Humana Vitae.
You would.
I did. Well, I had to for school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Intro to Theology. Like you have to read all of Vatican II, like every document.
That sounds like fun.
You know, it's not bad because at least you can go back to. I mean, yeah, can I do a chapter and verse? No, but you know, as we do stuff like this, I can pull it up and I can say, okay, hey, you know, this is going to fall under
remember
Humana
that.
Vitae,
Yeah.
and this may be, you know, really where we can, you know, I can use some of this.
Well, next time we come back, I want you to have it memorized. because
Memorized. Okay.
I think that's
the
pretty.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Word
going
for
to give
word.
you a quiz.
No.
Well, no, I mean, but as you look at it, and well, let me see if I can find here. Married love particularly reveals its true nature and nobility when we realize that it takes its origin from God, who is love,
Yes.
the Father from whom every family in heaven and on earth is named. That's the opening part of God's loving design. And it's, you know, but it speaks to, again, God is about love. He's not about sex.
No.
God is about love.
He's about love. That's
You
why
know?
it's making love.
You know.
You know.
But no, I mean, but these are the things that you have got to go back to on that teaching standpoint, and I think it's tough. I mean, because you know when you're a young kid,
Yeah.
when you're a teenager, you go, I'm in love.
No, you're not.
Well, and some may be,
Yes.
and I say that because I remember my
Yes.
my Aunt Tuppy and my Uncle Bill. So her real name was Margaret, but they called her Tuppy because when she was born, she was as small as a tuppence. Anyway, that's how Aunt Tuppy got her name. Aunt
No
Tuppy,
idea
for
what that
I
listening.
don't know what a tuppence
Is that early Tupperware?
No, oh, God.
Tuppence, like for the birds, feed the birds.
Yeah.
Tuppence, is that
yeah.
anything
Like
close?
little Miss Muppet sat on her tuffet?
Tuffet. She sat on a tuffet, which is a footstool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A tuffet. She was small as a tuffet.
Oh Lord.
No,
How about
tuffet
that?
with F's.
Tuffet. Anyways.
No,
Oh gosh. Okay.
That's okay. She was small.
So
she was small. Oh,
we'll go with that.
Lord.
She was small.
it's
Yeah,
a,
we get the gist.
Okay.
Did she fall in love as a baby? Is that where this is going?
Oh.
No,
oh.
As
I-
infants, they
I
fell in
think-
love at
They were-
infants
they
because
were
they were roommates in the hospital in the birthing
no,
room.
no, they were high school sweethearts, and so
shared birthing
you know,
rooms.
Aunt Tuppy and
No,
Uncle Bill got married after college and everything, but they were high school sweethearts. So some people
Yeah, I know. I've
sometimes
seen it
do
happen.
find their spouse or soulmate in terms of, in high school. That does happen.
Well, no, I'm not saying that it doesn't, but the whole purpose of dating
Yes.
is to marry. So if you are not ready to get married, and to make that commitment and to,
Yeah.
to enter into that next level, then you don't need to be dating. So there's no purpose in dating in high school unless you plan on getting married right outside of high school, which no, you can't. You have to go to college first. So
You do?
you don't have to.
You
No,
don't
you
have
don't.
to.
This is just my rule.
That's your rule.
These are our house rules here. No dating. Like until because I was allowed to date in high school. And it now as an adult, it's something that took me away from my studies and my friends and everything. And I was so focused on that when I should have been focused on everything else. And there was no reason for me to be focused on that because it wasn't going to amount to anything. I was going to go off to college. I was going to,
I have to admit, that's why I like going to all guys school.
Yeah.
There was no pressure. I mean, it didn't. I dressed as ugly as I could every day just to see how far I could push the dress code. It wasn't like I was trying to impress.
Yeah, I did that too, but I went to a super small school. And you weren't house rule there. You weren't allowed to date anybody that went to your own school.
Yeah.
They're probably related to you.
That's what happens in these small towns. But no, I mean. But I think there's a lot of pressure. It's that social pressure.
Exactly.
You have got to be in a marriage or you've got to be, in a perfect situation, and it's not the same for everyone.
No.
We all begin dating at different times. We all get married at different times. I mean, dating helps you understand what you're seeking for ultimately in that union and marriage. But at the same time, what we're doing today, advice for the teens is be mindful. Again. Am I really, as Alina said, as Alex has said, am I really committing to this person to the next level, or is it something I'm just doing to seek my own, personal companionship or personal gratification,
just for fun? I've asked you, Alex, like, oh, maybe you should ask her out, and you've said like, I don't date just for fun, and it's like, wow, that's really admirable. Like you see no future with that person. Like it would be a date just for fun. So why would you go on a date with that person when you could just be friends? I mean, if it's just for fun, if there's no end game here, like why would you, pursue that career or not career, but path?
Right.
So
don't mix emotions.
Yeah. One of the things again, as we kind of wrap up today's episode, this is definitely a longer topic, and we're probably gonna complete this in 2 shows.
Because I got a whole lot of notes here
there
still.
We go. So Alex, kind of wrapping it up.
Oh,
any big things?
Okay, you want to end with a wrap?
Wrapping
I was
it up.
okay.
Or is there
Let's
something
let it
that again you kind of want to point us back towards chastity and its key role within faith today? It's okay if you don't. I was just asking.
Boy, you always ask. You get me these big questions.
I know.
I got to get ready for your wrap-ups. I wish I could create a wrap.
Yeah, you could do a wrap to end the show.
I could wrap the catechism that I'm looking at here.
No.
To God is love, and in Himself He lives. Okay. In Himself He lives. Wait a minute. God is love, and in Himself He lives. A mystery of personal loving. Huh. Yeah, sometimes you got to be a theologian to read some of this.
Oh,
know,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
But also a regular person can read some of this. Chastity is last thing is chastity is a gift from God. So it is a grace, which means gift from God. So if it's something that you want more of in your life, you want to experience respect for yourself and other people more fully, then you ask God, help me, give me this gift. Please help me to be chaste. Help me see myself in this way. Help me see other people the way you see them. Because it's a gift and it's tough. But if you pray about it, God will grant it to you. So
there we go.
Yeah. I have a question, though, to follow up from Mike's question, just so that we are clear here, and since we are answering this for teens. So definition of chastity.
Yeah.
Definition of abstinence. Definition of modesty.
Ooh.
Because I feel like modesty and chastity go hand in hand a lot of the times, and they should, but they don't necessarily have to. I mean, they are separate definitions here,
So chastity is the big overlying virtue.
Okay, that's the
it encompasses
7
all
virtues,
of the respect of sexuality.
Okay.
And so abstinence is just simply means abstaining from something. And if you're talking about sexuality, you're talking about abstaining from sex. And I mean, you could abstain from You practice abstinence during Lent when you abstain from meat.
Mhm.
So the
Or on
word
every Friday.
abstinence just means not doing something, but chastity just is the overarching
Mhm.
virtue that incorporates all respect for our sexuality.
Mhm.
So that's different. And then modesty is a part of chastity in
Mhm.
that you have respect for yourself and other people by the way you present yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
You present yourself as a gift and as
Not an object.
right.
I mean, yeah, you're a gift, not an object.
Right.
Yeah, let's
So
be that
that's
blunt
modesty.
about
Yeah,
it.
and that's modesty.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a part of it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then
So-
contraception.
Contraception, meaning
any any barrier that prevents life.
right.
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 And
Yeah.
so any barrier method that would prevent life
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
just so that we have our vocab words in order
Mhm.
for today,
That's a
because
great
that's
That's it.
a lot of
Yeah.
things going on in this episode and in the next episode. I mean,
Absolutely.
I didn't even get into the calendar here. I
Yeah.
mean, it's gonna
Calendar.
Well,
We-
we got look. That's a tease for the next episode, everyone.
yeah.
So with that, thanks for joining us. To all the teens out there, keep those questions coming. We'll definitely. We're certainly glad that you ask every time, and we're certainly happy to share a little bit more insight. Till then, keep praying, and we'll see you at the next great VMY event. God bless.
Bye-bye.
See ya.